Welcome to a conversation with Senator Michael Moore. Senator Moore is our state senator. He represents the 2nd Worcester District, which comprises of about a little over 170,000
Very good.
citizens. I remembered that.
Very good.
My name is Kevin Byrne, and Senator Moore represents the community of Shrewsbury and 7 other communities in the piece of Worcester. Close. I can never get this straight because it doesn't matter. See, because this is Shrewsbury.
This is where
we are. This is where we are. Okay.
So it's down to 6 communities now.
6 communities
With the redistricting.
Oh, okay. See, that's what confused me all over the place. Okay.
So I lost Leicester, half of Northbridge and Upton.
There you are. But you picked up some
Westboro.
place up. Westboro. Oh, that's right. Westboro. Right.
Yeah.
So you're hanging around up here.
Yes, I've gotten rid of this.
Toward the eastern part of.
Lost some of the south and gone a little further east.
Good. That's
and a little bit more of the west.
Even nationally, you should be better in the east than you should be in the south. But that's for another program. So, how have you been? It's been a while since we've done a program. It's been a little crazy for some reason, and I don't know why. You got busy down there and under the Golden Dome, and I don't know what we were doing, but we were doing whatever we were doing, and it was
traveling.
It was a busy time. No, not really. We were doing we're theater nuts, and we go to every piece of theater everywhere. Okay, and dance companies and all the rest of it, and all of a sudden there was a surge of all of this stuff. Because every morning I would wake up. Now that Virginia and I are both retired. And there was no such thing as weekends. We don't understand what a weekend is anymore because they're all kind of the same.
Just blends in together now.
Day, they really are. So I'd wake up in the morning and put my foot on the green rug and say, Virginia, where are we going tonight? Okay, it worked out that way.
It's not what day is it anymore?
No. Well, sometimes it's that way on crazy days. In any event, how was your Thanksgiving?
Very good, thank you.
Busy?
Yeah, not bad. Went to my brother's house and kids over the house and sister and mother, and so it was nice.
Okay.
Yeah, it was nice and quiet.
Ours was very quiet this year too. It was just Virginia and my daughter Melissa, who lives next door. So she had to travel a long way.
The traffic must have been brutal.
It was really tough, and. The Ithaca people, my daughter and son-in-law and his 2 kids, my 2 grandchildren, all decided
stay home.
They were going to hang out together in Ithaca, and my wonderful daughter in Los Angeles says, I'm not flying on an airplane on the day before or 2 days before Thanksgiving, which made a whole lot of sense. Traffic is absolutely crazy.
Was traffic that bad? I know it normally is. I just wasn't sure.
When you listen to the news reports, and I'm a news guy, you know. 5:30, 6 o'clock. I gotta find everything, and it was like the end of the world. They had reporters, on the turnpike all over the place. Oh my God, it's really packed. So you never really know. Yeah. It's like snowstorms. My God,
So I took my
dog. The media kind of pumps this up all over. This is going to be, AAA say this is going to be the worst weekend in the history of North America and stuff like that. But
so I picked my daughter up on Wednesday. Tuesday around 2:00.
Boston.
Yep, and I expected the traffic to be bad, and it really wasn't too bad.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
they were probably all there.
Maybe. Yeah, they may have left ahead of time. Yeah.
Apparently Tuesday is becoming a big day, and then they said Sunday was crazy. The airplanes were, I gather, insane.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the morning I picked her up, when I left the house, they had the news broadcasters at Logan and I think LaGuardia. Yeah. And it wasn't that bad at that point.
Oh, okay.
They were surprising. They were saying the traffic was pretty light, but I guess later on in the day it kind of filled up.
It got a little
busy.
A little crazy anyway. Okay. So,
yes,
lots of stuff for us to talk about.
Yes.
There was one thing that dawned on me as I was driving down here today. The one thing I just want to hit on that we started to talk about on our last program, and it still chaotic as it was when we were going to talk about it, whenever we did our program last, this cannabis commission thing, it is still crazy, really and truly. Nothing has happened. There was a big thing in the paper yesterday, is that, some lady who worked at one of the cannabis stores
Passed away.
Inhaled the fumes from cannabis, which used to be marijuana, but we can't call anything marijuana anymore because marijuana's got a bad rep. Okay, so now we have to call it cannabis. That's okay. And now the whole deal is, there's no regulations dealing with, how they take care of the place and the rest of it. And as I'm reading it, I'm saying, it's because there's no commission.
Yeah.
And that hasn't gone anywhere, has it?
No.
I mean, Goldberg says she didn't fire the nice lady who she appointed to be the head, who was, I'm trying to think of her name. She was
Shannon O'Brien.
Shannon O'Brien, my candidate at one stage. I wanted her to be governor. Okay, Seemed to be. I met her a couple of times. Seemed to be a nice lady.
So,
whatever happened there, but she says she's not fired. She's on an extended
suspended with leave pending a hearing.
Pending a hearing, which is never going to happen.
Well, it's just going to happen December 7th now.
Oh, it is.
It was supposed to happen in November.
Yeah.
Now I guess it's going to happen December 7th.
Okay.
So basically,
I don't want to spend a lot of time.
No, but
it's not going anywhere.
But if you think about it, I filed the legislation in January to form this and to create this Inspector General's unit within there.
Yeah.
And at that point, that was based on my previous dealing with the commission last legislative session on how horribly they were treating this company that was in the process of opening up and manufacturing.
Right.
Then it went from there to more bad stories.
More bad than worse.
Were coming out.
Okay.
So
Sure.
I write I get the letter with some colleagues that recommending an oversight hearing,
Right.
And since then, it's only gotten worse.
Sure, it is.
From not only
None of them agree with it, and didn't a couple more retire or resign?
Well,
or does anybody know who's there? Is there anybody running the drug business in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
So since then, Kevin, they've the chair of the commission, who at that point when I first did this legislation was working, she was suspended by the treasurer.
Right.
And then she was going to take the treasurer to court because the statute does not give the treasurer the authority to fire her,
right.
unless there's a hearing and it's going to be based on gross misconduct. Right. But originally, my whole issue had nothing to do with the commissioners.
No.
It had to do with the running of the executive director and below running of the agency.
Sure.
But since then, since the treasurer has got involved, it's now expanded out to the commissioners, and then we've had additional press stories and information coming out about the conduct and how it's run.
Okay.
And we've also got now, so you've got the chair of the commission suspended. You've got no general counsel. You've got no human resources, no chief financial officer. All excluding their marketing or communication person. They just hired an interim executive director. They're all vacant positions.
Sure.
And now they're looking for additional funds.
Yeah.
Yet, how do you have you've got a shortfall? Yet you got all these vacant positions.
Okay.
Shouldn't there be a surplus? So I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is that
To be continued. If
they had followed the advice of the letter,
we'll talk about it when we're doing another program in December.
Okay, let's just quickly. If they had followed the advice and had an oversight hearing,
Right.
all these things that we tried to identify wanted to come out would have come out.
Right.
But there's only so much that legislators can do.
Crazy.
So
Crazy.
Yep.
All right, the important thing I want to talk about today, and a whole lot of stuff that nice fellow named Alex, whose last name I still can't pronounce, had sent to me, deals with this supplemental budget.
Yes.
$2.8 billion with a B dollars.
Yes.
Which includes lots of little other added attractions in there, other than just the housing issue and the homeless issue and stuff like that. There are other things in there. We'll get to that anyway. I had said off here, I'm a newspaper reader, kinesthetic. I have to have it in my hand. I can't. The phone drives me crazy. Okay, I can't. But I have to read it, so I read absolutely everything. And you guys are getting. When I'm saying you guys, I'm talking about the House and the Senate. That everybody figures is one and the same, and we certainly know that they're not one and the same, and never have been. That you can't get anything, you can't get this done, and it keeps going back and forth all over the place, and it's still, despite all of the stuff of the Senate, which has pretty much organized themselves and voted on stuff that seems to make all sorts of sense, but it now has to go back to the House because their ideas about what to do or how this money gets distributed are totally different than what the Senate says.
Yeah,
So
so
now it's in a committee someplace.
Conference committee. So similar to any legislation, the House, if the House does one version, the Senate does one version. If they're different,
Sure.
It can go. Well, it can be during the process of it going back to the House.
Right.
They can concur with our changes, which would alleviate the need for a conference committee.
Right.
Or we could eventually they could just revote theirs, send it back.
Right.
We could concur, and then again it wouldn't need a
Right, but
conference. In this case, there's no concurrence.
Okay, but in addition to, concurrence, non-concurrence, everything's up there. Mother Haley is sitting there saying, I'm still seeing 1,000 immigrants a day.
Okay. Yep. No, I agree.
Coming in, and she has capped them. Superior Court judge has said, yeah, the cap was okay.
I just
So
want
all
to.
of this though is tied up, and the press is saying, we got all these poor homeless people who are sleeping at Logan Airport in everybody's corridor someplace, and you guys are mucking around trying to figure out.
I just wanted to explain so that when the public, when they talk about, that's how that works.
Right.
So basically, what happened with this piece of legislation, this supplemental budget was actually there were two subs.
Right.
There was the 250.
Yep.
That the governor, and then there was the closeout sub.
Yep.
So when I say sub, that's supplemental.
Yep.
So the closeout supplemental, we usually get done by September or October.
Right.
And what that does is, when we vote that closes out the books for the last fiscal year.
And that's this.
Well, the House ended up merging the two subs.
Right. Oh, I see.
To one.
All right. So that's what makes the 2.8.
That's right. So that's good. That's where. So we've got a closeout sub that was merged with this.
Just in 3 sentences or less. What are the two? One is the big dough.
One is the migrant
housing,
money.
Immigrant money.
Yep.
And then
the other is the closeout sub, closing out the books for all the bills that came in at the end of the fiscal year that would need to be paid.
all right.
So that's basically, so right now, when the fact that we haven't done this, the state really can't close out its books for last fiscal year.
Right.
So the comptroller needs this
And
passed.
by the way, also as all the media is blacking around, you guys last week said bye-bye. We'll see you next year, right? I mean,
Well,
you will.
Well,
have,
sorry. So
you can't
let's-
have formal sessions.
Right. So let's go back to this. So this was sent over in some point in the summer, in late summer.
This is 2.8.
Both of these
merged thing.
both of these were
Okay.
set into. So now the Senate, because of the Constitution, the Senate cannot do a money bill before the House. So we have the House representatives, just like a tax increase, a tax cut, veto override, the House has to act first. So we can't do anything until the House does it.
Right.
So the House merged the two bills. They didn't get it over to us until November 5th.
Okay.
So we then took it up the week of the 14th.
Right.
So we acted within a week, 9 days.
Right.
So the problem was is that by the time they sent it over to us, just so you're saying, we break the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Right.
That the 15th this year. So they send it over to us. We did it on the 14th, a Tuesday. The Senate leadership thought they could resolve the differences where they didn't need a conference committee.
Right.
So those of us in the body, the Senate, were waiting after we passed this. It got sent back to the House. We were waiting for the leadership in both branches, the Senate and the House, to work out this difference.
Right.
It goes until the next day, which is our last day that we're in formal session. Okay. That at midnight, they notify us that they couldn't come to an agreement. They have to create a conference committee.
Right.
So whatever's going on is between
Okay, but
the Senate President's office and the Speaker's office.
What the House sent over to you in this merged supplemental budget,
The main differences.
Just so I understand this, okay. They sent it over to you. You acted promptly, obviously had discussions and debates and the rest of it, and passed something. But what you passed
was different from what the House said.
is really substantially different than what the House passed.
Yeah, but see, this is the problem though, and I don't want to say you have to look at this like a game of chess because it's more important than a game of chess.
Right.
By the House waiting as long as they did,
Yeah.
is that just so that they send something over to us that we have to, because of the time frame, they think we have to adopt it just to get what they want?
Right.
Or are they just playing hardball with us in the conference committee? So basically, not to make any changes because of the time frame. So basically, one of the main differences in these bills, the bill, is the migrant funding.
Yes.
So the
And
House,
how much authority Governor Healy has
right? So the House
over that money.
The House wants to put wants to be very prescriptive as far as how the money has to be spent,
Right.
when shelters need to be opened,
Right.
where the Senate's version is giving the money,
Yeah.
but we're saying to the administration, you've got the flexibility on how and when the money is to be spent.
Exactly.
Which,
Exactly.
to my point of view, I would think that with the situation we're in,
Yeah.
that's a much better the flexibility
Of course it is.
is better, so that instead of saying, okay, after 30 days you have to have this, what happens after 20? Let's say there's 20 days,
Right.
or it's 50 days,
Yeah.
or there's a shift in where we see a decrease in the amount of people coming
Yeah,
in.
it's crazy, huh?
So, and then there's the other issue. There's an issue with the, I guess, this soccer field. So,
Well, there are two things in there, and we talked about it briefly before we went on the air, is part of what's in there is, I gather, raises or money arrangements for all public service employees. And they're going crazy over this, at least in the press, okay, saying, hey, we haven't gotten this money, which basically you guys, and I'm saying guys, I shouldn't even be using that word guys anymore, okay? There's a lot of things I'm not using that I should want to use now anyway, okay? That this is something that was agreed upon and pretty much determined last summer?
well, the contracts were ratified last spring. So ratification is not agreed upon with the legislature about when it's going to be funded. That's the administration working with Senate President and the Speaker's office on when it's going to go into the the funding's going to be passed.
But it doesn't seem as though anybody has any objections to it.
No.
Other than it's tied into this.
It's tied into this bigger issue.
And then the third thing that's got tied into it, and I find absolutely fascinating, I had heard about the Everett, Mr. Kraft's Everett soccer field to be built on the waterfront someplace in Everett. I never knew there was waterfront in Everett. Well, there was, but we didn't consider it to be water, okay? In any event, that got tucked into this bill. How did that happen?
So that is the version that came out of Ways and Means with the approval of the Senate President's Office and Ways and Means.
Right.
So that's the version that came out.
Right.
It's my understanding the House had some similar language to that issue in an economic development bill that we didn't do last year. So whether it should have been in this SUP or not, that's questionable.
But that's not a money part, is it? Isn't this
No,
just,
but no.
These are just provisions.
These are just provisions.
To allow them to build this.
So basically, it's designated as part of a port of entry.
That's right.
Development. So they want to remove it from that designation, so that a soccer field can be built.
Right.
At that point, environmental concerns will be addressed.
Yeah.
A lot of the environmental advocates are opposing this because they feel that it would be a detriment to the environment. So, but
I'm sorry. I'm a Bostonian, and I'm a South Bostonian. Okay, Everett. Anything you can do to improve Everett. When that fella Wynn built that cathedral, I'm calling it, that casino from Camelot or whatever it is. At least there was something in Everett. The waterfront in there. This place that he wants to do this is an abandoned electric facility that's been abandoned and sitting on.
And to put a soccer stadium, he's going to have to go in and remediate the environmental issues.
Oh, sure.
So you would think that there'd be some concurrence amongst the stakeholders.
Of course.
But
yeah, to do it.
So basically, where we stand right now.
By the way,
where we stand right now is the Senate President's Office and the speakers have to resolve this issue.
Okay.
Now, if we do not get this resolved by December 31st.
Right.
This supplemental budget has to be refiled.
Right. Go back.
Yes. So.
All right. Now.
So do you want to know what's in there?
Just as a side note, Bob Kraft has been trying to get this soccer field over there, and I said this is a good time for Kraft to get into soccer even more than he is now, since we
With
have
the Patriots,
we have a football team that there is. I think there's a Shrewsbury Pop Warner. Team that probably could beat Mac and the rest of his guys.
They're pretty bad this year.
Bad is not exactly the word.
Yeah.
I am a fair weather fan, but I love. It's the only sport that I watch on television. Probably because I got this 9,000-foot television, and you can see every piece of grass on it and all this sort of stuff. I have no idea. But Virginia pays that bill. I have no idea what that costs anyway. But I watch football games, and I've just got possessed. I said it's something to do on a Sunday afternoon, and it gets worse every single Sunday. Okay, that's getting us.
Okay, so just to get back to this up, so basically one thing the Senate did pass. Yeah. And it was a bipartisan amendment, so Democrats and the 3 Republicans supported it.
Boy, there's 3.
Well, there's actually 4 now.
Soon to be 4 with
tomorrow.
The guy from the West coming in.
Yeah, so there was an amendment.
I'm told isn't a bad guy.
I don't know. Okay. We'll find out as we go.
Right. For me to say it's a Republican, it's not a bad guy. That's pretty strong.
Yeah. Okay. So there was an amendment that was adopted that would direct the Commonwealth to convene a commission that was designed to work on a long-term comprehensive financial strategy to look at the needs of our shelter system and our fiscal responsibility.
The shelter thing. What are we going to do about that, Mike?
Well, that's.
I mean, they're still coming.
Well, and that's with
because we have a law that says we're required.
Well, but even if the law wasn't, so this is the debate, that even if the law wasn't in place,
right.
They're still coming here.
Right. But part of the deal was, people are telling them, if you go to Massachusetts, okay, they're required by law to get you housing. And, there is some opinion that that's brought a lot more into Mass than we might have had.
So that was
Who knows?
That was a big debate we had on whether they would still be coming here or not. Yeah. But the bottom line is that, so the governor capped it at the 7,500.
Yep.
The courts upheld her decision.
Yeah.
So, but we still don't have a plan. So that's why this amendment got so much support, is that we need to have a strategy and a plan.
Sure.
Especially in the fact that this is a federal immigration issue. We have the feds who aren't doing anything. They finally just elected a speaker. Yeah. So to change any sort of immigration law,
that's immoral. what they're doing down there with this particular issue.
Because, we got people, we got
Mara Healy's been just begging for
we've got
money.
every industry that's looking for more workers.
Right.
So here we have more people coming in that
Who can't work.
Right, but they want to work.
Exactly.
So, but we can't because we can't rely on Washington.
Right.
So we can't rely on them putting federal changes in the law. They're not appropriating any additional funds, even though we're bearing the brunt of a immigration issue, which is a federal issue. We can't control it.
Right.
So Massachusetts. So I think it's important that this commission was passed. So hopefully this will be something that the House didn't have that will come through. Okay. Some other issues that was in this up. We had
you got
$10 million for funding for resettlement agencies, $2 million funding for support centers for immigrants and refugees, $75 million for school districts impacted by special education tuition rate increases, $15 million for disaster relief, another $500 for the Commission on LGBTQ provision of the soccer stadium. Then there's the other funding we have goes into the dealing with the closeout.
Okay.
But are we out
Do
of
you
time?
realize Liz is waving at me? See, we're almost out of time, but we have scheduled this time with Liz and
Alex.
and Alex now.
Yep.
Okay, who's the communication guy?
Yes.
Okay, that we're going to do one before Christmas.
Okay.
One year we did one here, and we had a artificial fireplace here. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, no,
In
I don't
any
remember
event, we don't need the fireplace, but we're going to continue to follow up on this because these are critical, important issues.
It is.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you, folks, for watching us. Continue to watch us. We're going to do this regularly very soon.